think James, there we go. James, are you muted?
Yep, I'm muted.
Oh,
Thank you very much, guys. Can you hear me now?
We got you.
Great. Great. I'm just going to start my screen share. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, we can.
We can see it.
Great. Let me go to slideshow and put it up as a slide presentation. So my name's James Campbell, and as Ubong said, I'm entrepreneur in residence with special focus on sales. My background has been on international sales, primarily with companies like SAP. Actually, any company you can think of that's a three-letter acronym, I've worked for them. So the point of my talk today is to really talk to you about B2C sales. Let's have a brief history of sales. First of all, sales is the world's oldest profession, which is something I'm very proud of. Most people think it's something else, but really, that's just another division of sales. What do you think about salespeople? Can anybody tell me what their thoughts are when you think of the word salespeople?
People trying to communicate a message or product or service.
That's very kind of you, Omar. That's a very good definition. Anyone else?
I was the first thing that came to my mind was actually pushy.
Yep, we get a lot of that. And that's one of the reasons why we have professional sales organizations now that we didn't have before, because we had pushy salespeople out there who didn't know what they were doing. A lot of sales is just about training. So here's the advantages of sales. It's great pay, but it's also terrible pay. It's filled with excitement, but it's also filled with boredom. It is the bipolar career of choice because you get such highs and such lows all at the same time. There are many types of sales. The very first sale was called P2P, peer-to-peer, where somebody picked up a fish from their buddy, walked it over to a farmer, and exchanged it for grain, for bread, and that was the first sale. We don't know for sure that was the first sale, but we know it was something like that. Business began to sell to consumers after that. Businesses began to specialize, and the specialization was, hey, I'm really good at fishing. I shouldn't plant my own crops. Or I'm really good at planting my own crops. I shouldn't spend my days fishing. And once they realized that, businesses began to sell directly to consumers. And finally, businesses became established enough to sell to businesses. And that's how B2B sales came. They're the new people in the block. Really, B2B sales just started happening in the 1970s in a big way. Before that, it was B2C and inline manufacturing. So if you were a big company like Ford or General Motors, you would make your own steering wheels, you would make your own components, you would make your own parts. Nowadays, they outsource that to smaller companies. So that's B2B sales. Today, we're going to focus on B2C sales, though. And for B2C, can anyone tell me what it stands for? Is it business to consumer, business to community, or business to communities? Anybody?
First one.
That's a good answer. Anybody else?
I thought it was the first one as well.
I'm going to assume that it's going to be the second one.
Also a good answer. Anybody else?
It's business to consumer.
That's a good answer.
Can it just be all of them?
It is all of them. It is all of them. While we focus on business to consumer, large organizations are focused on business to community. So a good example is a hot dog vendor is direct business to consumer. If you look at a company called Blue Buffalo, they make dog food and they're business to community. because their consumer is a community. If you look at companies that have multiple products, they're business to communities. And the reason why they're split up this way is because if you're focused on a consumer, one consumer, you're going to focus on their needs. If you focus on a community, it's a wider stretch of needs, and you're more likely to catch more fish in that net. Does that make sense to everybody? I'm hoping so.
I see some nods.
Good, good. So back to so what part of the equation do you control? So we're talking B2C as an equation. And if you look at the top, B2C, B is the part of the equation that you control, the business. Most of you are focused on the C, which is the consumer. And that's perfectly normal. That's how most people see it. But the truth is, if you take a look at the B part, you have a lot more control there. Why is there a 2 in the equation B2C? Can anyone tell me?
Because there's like two parties, maybe like a person and like the business, the customer, and it's like two people.
You're knocking it out of the park, my friend.
Great.
You're knocking it out of the park. It is because there's two parties, but there's also two parts to the transaction. The 2 is what each party brings to the deal. And I'll tell you, I was showing off a little for my wife in this slide, so be patient with me. Typically, it's stored value or cash for goods or services, aka value. Without the 2 there is no deal. And this is where I was showing off to my wife. See this equation at the end? SC plus SV equals deal. That's stored cash versus stored or value cash equals the deal. So you have control over what you propose based on what you're bringing to the table with the deal. So you can change the terms of the deal, you can change the price, you can change a lot of things in the 2 portion of the deal. Who here likes ice cream? Anybody? Excellent. Excellent. Do you have a favorite ice cream maker? Anybody?
I
Scream it out.
specifically like marble slab ice cream.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, I'll tell you, in Canada, there's really 2 national ice cream makers. Meet Big Milk, Saputo. These guys are an $11 billion behemoth of a company. I mean, they make everything. Their big brand of ice cream is Nielsen, but they also make President's Choice and hundreds of other brands of ice cream. They are Big Milk. These people will crush you if they get a chance. They're a very lovely family from Quebec, but they will crush you in business if they get a chance. Now meet the underdog of ice cream, Chapman's. Anybody ever heard of Chapman's? Well, they're a little ice cream company that's in Markville, Ontario, a town of about 500, where 300 of them work for the ice cream company. So you can imagine their entire town works for Chapman's. They own about 20% of the market. 20% is not a real number, it's just a fictional number. They own a chunk between 10 and 18%. But let's call it 20 to round it off. So how do these guys survive against Big Milk? Any ideas?
Well, essentially, when you've got a major company that does a lot of things, and there isn't another company, a lot of people usually go for the underdog as well.
You're right. You're right. People like the underdog. But based on the things we've already talked about, what can they control?
Their business, the B.
The B, you're right. And here's how they do it. They control the size, they control flavors, they control calories, they control nut-free, allergy-free, they control kid-friendly packaging, and they make it with 100% Canadian milk. And for that, they can claim that they have quality control. But let's take a look at this picture up above. This will give you a hint as to what these guys are really controlling. If you start on the left, there's an ice cream sandwich up here, and can anyone see? It's Neapolitan. There's 3 flavors of ice cream between a chocolate cookie sandwich. Then you look over to the next one, and it's a fudgy pop, but if you look to the next one, it's a fudgy pop in green. So they're developing new flavors and new colors. Over here to the cone, one of the things you'll look at is on top of that cone, it looks like it's got nuts, but those aren't nuts. They're baked cookie bites that give you a crunch, but that are nut allergy free. They also carry the standard regular ice cream, but look at this ice cream sandwich on the far right. It's got a white cookie and then brown and white ice cream. These guys did their research. They changed their products. They made a difference between Big Milk and their products by making them all different. They also did a couple of other things. They got smaller sizes. So you can see here it's 6 times 80 milliliters. Can you imagine an 80 milliliter size ice cream bar? Do you know how small that is? It's small. They have fewer SKUs. So they have, even though they have more ice cream flavors, they have fewer SKUs. And they have more selection. Can anyone tell me how you can have fewer SKUs but more selection?
Offering a different variety of flavors in one box.
Yes. Oh my God, Jesse. It took people forever to figure that out. So they have more variety in one box. It's brilliant how they do it, because if you go back to this slide, you can get a box with 6 different varieties of stuff in it in one box, and they call it a collection. And so when moms go out and buy a box, they can buy a box of assorted ice cream treats, and these treats will make everybody in the family happy. They also went with what's called natural flavors. Natural can mean a lot of things. So heroin is natural, cocaine is natural, weed is natural. Those are all natural flavors, but I don't think that's the flavor they're going for. They're going for flavors that people remember from their childhood. Oatmeal cookie, that's a natural flavor. It presents as wholesome and kind and nice. The other thing they do is they fill the shelves faster at a lower price point. So the Chapman's box will be $6. The Nielsen's box will be $8, but the Chapman's box will have a lot more flavors inside of it. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yep.
These guys are very, very, very competitive. And they're growing, and they're going to continue to grow. So that's how they compete against Big Milk. Anybody like hot sauce? If you like hot sauce, do you like Tabasco? Because these guys are big sauce.
Big sauce for sure.
For over 100 years, they're family owned, and in the first 100 years, they only sold 2 sizes, the 2-ounce bottle and the 5-ounce bottle. And they fought like heck to keep those 2 bottles. They're a darn fine product. people all over the world loved them, but they couldn't grow anymore. They were stuck at their size of market and couldn't grow until 2003 when they hired a sales company to figure out how to make them grow. Well, the first thing that they did was they changed their bottles. They created this 1.25 ounce bottle, this tiny one here, for travelers and as a hotel novelty. People would hoard these bottles and bring them with them. But they also created the larger 12-ounce bottle for family size because they found that one family would run out of a 5-ounce bottle in a week, and they weren't always replacing it. But with a 12-ounce bottle, you had 2 weeks, a little more than 2 weeks, and then you'd replace it. They created smaller portable bottles, they created jumbo bottles, but what else did they do to get their sales up? They increased the size of the openings in the bottles. So now, when you shake it, you shake out 30% more. Can anyone else think of a more brilliant way? Hey, look at that. Can anyone else think of a more brilliant way to get larger sales than adding a larger opening? It was genius.
100%. I definitely agree because there was this one study where a grocery store, what they did was they made the grocery carts 30% bigger, and they actually increased in sales tremendously because of it.
That's right. Product carry counts. What you can carry in your supermarket basket counts. So you get more sauce with every shake now. No matter what you do, if you're using Tabasco, you're using more sauce than you were previous to 2003. But guess who's catching on? The Sriracha folks. What do they control? Squeeze bottle. They have a carabiner loop and carry. Can anyone tell me why they have a carabiner loop and carry?
Portable. I've looked everywhere for those bottles.
Yep. They're portable. They're athletic.
They're
They're also
personalized. You don't have to share the bottle with anybody else.
exactly, Christine. That's exactly it. It's portable, it's personal. And when you do portable and personal, people buy it. Not just for themselves, but for their spouses. They also have a jumbo size family bottle, which is much bigger than what Tabasco has. They have 2-size family bottles, and they have an individual bottle so that you can keep it at home when you live alone. Overall, they're coming forward. They have a reclosable cap that is reclosable, and you can't lose the cap. So that's how you work on the B side of B2C equation. So how are you going to compete against your big competitor? Let's talk a little bit about your businesses. Does anybody have a business out there that they can see would go a lot better if you focused on the B side? Can anybody see a change that you could make if you focused on the B side of the equation?
I like to think of, for my business, to cut my overhead costs down as a small manufacturer of trailers and anything like that.
Yep.
And having a low overhead cost and less people to pay and so on, I could lower my price for my product and be able to cut
That's
my
excellent. That's on the 2 side of the equation.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the B side, that's the 2 side, but it's an excellent idea. And by the way, when you're working on the 2 side of the equation, keeping costs low is always important.
Definitely.
What about the C side of the equation? The customer. Could you consider bundling? Could you consider lifetime customer value? Can you consider right sizing? And that's just what you suggested right now, is right sizing your company to keep costs low. what else can you bundle with your product? If you're selling bears, stuffed bears, do you sell 2 stuffed bears wrapped together in a bow? Or do you sell 1 stuffed bear? Do you sell a bear with a coffee mug? Or do you sell just a bear? Think about the things that you can do for your customers that create value. Anybody heard of these guys? Amazon? Amazon happens to own pretty much most of the world these days. Amazon ASW, which is Amazon, oh goodness, I've had a brain stall.
AWS,
AWS, which is
Amazon Web Services.
Thank you. Amazon Web Services can go a long way to help you. But selling your product on Amazon, does anybody have any experience with that?
No, but I heard of what they do.
What do they do?
Once they see it's profitable, they'll start making it themselves and start selling it themselves.
Exactly. Amazon's not your friend. They're not your buddy. They are your competitor, but they're also your partner. If they see you making too much money, they will definitely go to that manufacturer, price it out better than you can, buy more than you can, even shut off your supply line and sell it themselves. So I want you to be careful when you're working with selling on Amazon. Now, there is one important thing to know about Amazon. You can still make money even if you're not selling on Amazon, just by having a link to Amazon. So you sign up as a link partner and you put that on your website where you sell one thing. And if somebody clicks through that website to get to Amazon, whatever they buy, regardless of whether it's your product or not, you get paid on. Lots of companies work on that model. How about our friends at Google? Are they good guys? Anybody?
Yes.
That's the correct answer. Yes, kind of. So Google's not going to steal your product, but they're going to soak you for ad revenue. Has anyone worked with Google Ads?
Yes.
Okay, what was your experience with that?
Complex in the beginning, extremely complex. Hard to calculate full impact. It required becoming an expert on the platform as well, so it was just difficult.
You're absolutely right, David. So it is complex. It's overly complex. It's become more difficult over the years, not easier. It's become to the point
I think we've lost James for a second here. If everyone can just turn off their screens, we could probably bring them back. Or turn off your camera, sorry. There we go. You're back, James. There was a bit of a glitch for a second there. We'll just get everyone to turn off their cameras and you should be okay.
Okay, so Google can help you, but that's not their job to help you. Their job is to take your money and get you as many clicks, eyeball clicks as you need to your website so you can be successful. But you have to be careful as to what you're asking Google to bring back to you. You have to be very specific, and you have to be willing to spend $1,000, at least $1,000 over the couple weeks, a couple months to get some results. And if you don't get results, you need to consider whether it's your product or your price, whether it's the B or the 2, because the C is arriving at your website. How about our friends at Facebook? Do you like Facebook? Anybody?
Not so much.
I think Facebook is the cheapest advertisement compared to a lot of different platforms.
It is. It is, Christine. And why is that?
Because if there's no client looking at your ad, you don't pay for.
Right. Right. So Facebook does a great job of advertising, but they don't do as good a job as bringing you customers as Google. But they do bring you customers. One nice thing about Facebook is if you're selling peer-to-peer, you have Facebook Marketplace. And that can help you sell really quickly. There's thousands of sales groups on Facebook, which you can join to support one another and to sell your products and services. So let's talk about your perfect customer. Ideally, regardless of what platform you choose, you're going to want to deal with your perfect customer. Your perfect customer is not necessarily the customer who likes your product most. So this is my perfect customer, smiling stick person, likes drumsticks, and enjoys Tabasco sauce. It's not about the customers that like your products, though. This is important. You want customers who are willing to pay for your products. That's the perfect customer. I'm going to repeat this again. It's never about customers that like your products. There will be thousands of people who like your products. You want the customers who are willing to pay for your products. If you learn nothing else at all during today, I want you to write this down. It's never about the people who like your products. It's only about the people who are willing to pay for your products. Art galleries every day go through this exact same thing. Ooh, I like the product. That's a beautiful painting. I love the sculpture. It's beautiful. But that's not a customer. That's somebody who appreciates art. A customer is somebody who takes the money out of their pocket and gives it to you for that art.
This is exactly what I go through with my business, like 100%, because I make lighting that I do by hand, and it's sculptural and it takes a lot of work. And I have people who love my work, and then I tell them the price and they're like, oh, I thought it was going to be $30. And it's like, no, this is like a $500 piece.
Yeah. So what can you change to get them to understand it's a $500 piece when they first start looking at it?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe they need to know how much work has gone into it, and they need to know why it's that much money, I guess.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. But you also need to position it in some place where they can see it in a place of value. So an art gallery where they're expecting to pay more. But your problem is the problem that most people have. So my wife says you're probably not going to understand this fully, so she made me do another slide. And this is it. So because you still may have questions, I'm going to refer to you as Ketchup Bottle 1, which is the UI, designing the product. This is what most people design when they build a product. You can see how this ketchup bottle is brilliant. It's solid. It's got a screw-on cap. It holds ketchup fresh. It's not going to break when you drop it. It's the perfect ketchup bottle. Except for if you go to the right, you realize it's not the perfect ketchup bottle because it's not designed for the experience of the user. If you change your business process and you change the 2 and you change the C, you're going to come up with this UX bottle that's easy to squeeze. It's always loaded because it's upside down. It's the perfect bottle. So try and think of your sales in terms of what your customer experience is going to be, not just what your design experience is. Does that make sense to everybody? Good.
Yes.
I'm seeing some nodded heads. That's the difference between today's sales and yesterday's sales. We have the squeeze bottle now. We can get people information where they couldn't get it before. We can get it to them faster. We can get it to them better. That concludes my presentation, but I'm hoping you have some questions.
Thank you so much, James. Amazing presentation. I want to give as much Q&A time as possible. So we have 10 minutes left with you and Ubong. So I'm just going to turn the screen share off so we can see everybody.
Good idea.
And James, I've already put your contact information in the chat. You should all see it there from earlier. I've also shared it on our online platform for everybody as well. Okay, so we've got everybody up here. So yeah, go ahead, everyone. Ask away.
Hey, James. Jesse here.
Jesse.
Hot Sauce Company. Was that glass bottle, squeeze bottle more metaphorical?
It was. Glass bottle, squeeze bottle is trying to get people to understand that the old way of doing things is not necessarily the way you need to do things today.
Mm-hmm.
Take a look at what the customer needs. Take a look at how the customer reacts to your product and find a way to make it easier for them to purchase your product. Jesse, your hot sauce company, how many hot sauces do you make?
We do 3 right now.
That's the perfect amount to start with. That's the perfect amount. If you do too many, you get lost. How many shelves are you on? Are you on retailer shelves yet?
Two full-time locations and then a couple online locations.
Very good. Very good. That's a great start. Does anybody else have any questions? Maybe I should ask a question. Sorry, go ahead.
I just have a comment, like not a question. I really like that you said that go for people who would buy your product and don't like your product. I think that's a very good way of thinking.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. It's all about who's going to put their money to their wallet. Everybody else is a spectator. And the faster you get that, the faster you get to sales. And sales are what keeps your company alive. Lots of people think it's just, tweets and retweets and, comments and likes. All of those things are great. But what keeps your company alive is cash. So find the customer that's willing to put their hand in their pocket and pay for it.
Any other questions, guys? Any comments? James, you said you had a couple questions you wanted to ask?
I do, actually. Kristen, what's Soul Runners?
Hi, nice to meet you. So we teach guided running programs to people of all fitness levels.
Wow. Wow, that's a product I could use.
We're really good.
Tanan, what is Greenovation Eco Dinnerware?
Hi, James. So we carry eco-friendly, sustainable, disposable dinnerware. That's from a palm leaf. So just like an eco-friendly alternative to disposable plastic and paper plates.
So that's going to be a huge industry in the months coming up.
Right.
The ability to carry plates into public spaces is going to be limited. It's going to be a lot of disposables. So if I'm you, I get on this product right away because there's going to be a market for you coming up very, very quickly.
Yeah, and I can also relate to when you said the customers are who wants to pay for the product, not just like it. Because when I was at the Western Farmers Market here in London, over on the weekends, and I just had a table in the beginning, not the booth. So when people pass by my table and they look at it, everybody's like, "What is it? Is it wood or is it So I tell them it's you know it's like a dried leaf and it's eco-friendly alternative to plastic plates, and they all love it. But then
Right.
when they ask for the price, and they would say like, well, you know, I can buy 100 plates, like plastic plates, for $5, and why would I pay $25 for yours?
Because you love your children.
Yeah.
That's why you pay $25. Omar, what's Fast Track?
Hi, James. So I'm here with my partner, Aaron. We run a company called Fast Track. It's an application that helps delivery drivers save up to 30% of their day scanning all their packages. So typically, drivers have about 200 packages that they need to deliver. And usually what they do is they just open up Google Maps and just pick a package and just put in the address. So our application, you can just simply scan all the packages, and within seconds, you have your own personalized route ready for you to go.
Wow, that's fantastic. I know about 2 companies that could use that already. Are you going to regional companies?
What, sorry?
Are you
We're
going
hoping
to
to-
regional delivery companies?
We're hoping to go global, but first we want to make sure that we hit Canada well, and then we'll expand to a global market.
Okay, okay, fair enough. If I were you, I'd focus on local companies who have under 10 drivers, because once you're over 10 drivers, they're going to use more professional tracking systems. Not that yours isn't professional, but they'll use what's glued together and taped together from what's available on the market already.
And what's nice is that we're actually the only company out there who uses object character recognition. Like, none of our competitors do what we do.
That's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, so I actually had a question about that. I was going to ask, what would be kind of your advice for an upcoming startup like us? Because we're about to launch in 2 weeks. So I was just going to ask, what do you think would be some viable advice for us?
So on the business side, I would tell you, guard your cap table. Don't share out shares with everybody, because this is going to work if you guide this right. On the sales side, I'm going to tell you that you have an opportunity here to sell to small and mid-sized companies in a hurry. I would get out there and start knocking on doors of small to mid-sized courier companies and start selling, because you need a base of about 10 customers before you can say it's a live product. So start knocking on doors, start making phone calls, even if it makes you uncomfortable.
Definitely.
Kelly?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Kelly?
James, you have time for one more, I think.
Sure. Kelly, why don't you tell me about what your product is?
My company is Studio KVR, and it's a ceramics and light design company. And we create artfully designed small batch handmade home goods. So I'm more so on the lighting design side, and all my stuff is very sculptural. You will not see this at IKEA. You know, it's very artistic, and I've had it, I've had it at design shows, but then I've also had it in art galleries. So it's kind of like balancing the two between like the design world, the business world, and then like the art world. So that's kind of what I do.
So that's very smart that you have it in art galleries and in shows. The art gallery gives you credibility. You may want to put a sign that says, as seen in such and such art gallery. You know how they say, as seen on TV? Well, whatever art gallery you're in, you make sure that you say, as seen in such and such an art gallery.
Yeah, I've had it in like New York Design Week, and I was invited to Milan Design Week before COVID. So maybe I should have that. And I won an award through Interior Design Magazine for it.
Definitely you should have that up.
Okay.
Definitely you should have that up. When people perceive value, they perceive it through the highest level of what you've touched. So you're in an art gallery, they can say to themselves, this is art that I'm buying at the price of furniture. Art for the price of furniture.
That's a good way to think of it.
Yeah, yeah. If nobody else has any questions, are there any questions, anybody? Then I think I'm done.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, James, and Ubong as well. Switch the view here so I can see everybody. There we go.
For having us. Thanks for having us.
There was some amazing nuggets in there. It's funny. I think the last 2 days we keep seeing a theme that's just kind of naturally weaving its way through there. A lot around, differentiating yourself in the market. Hot sauce seems to be a popular topic right now for some reason. It's funny. So lucky for Jesse. We did discuss earlier around, going into a market with, having less variety and how important that is. So having less SKUs is something we definitely discussed today. So James, you really helped to drive home a lot of topics, and this is our first official talk in the accelerator this year around sales. So I'm happy that you introduced it in a way that was very concise and really easy for everybody to kind of ease into it, because I think sales is one of those areas for a lot of new entrepreneurs that most people are pretty uncomfortable with. If for the majority of us here, it's not your natural state. So it was awesome to have a great concise presentation like that to introduce the topic. And in 2 weeks, we'll be going into a full week of sales, and it'll be finished with some practice negotiations for everybody. So it's going to be exciting. So I thank you both. Ubong, I'd love for you to get in touch with everybody. So please reach out to Tech Alliance, guys. Lots of great resources, and thank you both for your presentations today.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having us.
If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to call me or email me. My contact information is at the side.
Excellent. Thank you very much, James.
Thank you so much.
Let's give a good Leap Junction farewell wave.
Thanks, James.
Thanks for having us.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, Ubong. Have a great day, guys.
Have a great rest of your day.
Yeah.
You too.
Yeah.
Farewell.
Hey, guys.